Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're jumping straight into something absolutely mind-bending. We're unpacking a highly profound and, frankly, pretty radical perspective on life, death, and reality itself. We're going to explore the philosophy of Simcha Lev, who offers a non-dualistic framework that completely challenges our conventional views on mortality. If you've ever grappled with the finality of losing someone you love, or, even just the fear of your own end, this explainer is going to take you on a really deep philosophical journey.
Okay, let's dive right into this. What if death simply doesn't exist? And I don't mean that in a poetic or metaphorical sense, and I'm not talking about the traditional religious sense of moving on to a literal heaven or hell either. Simcha Lev proposes a framework that might literally flip your entire understanding of reality upside down. But to see exactly how she arrives at this massive conclusion, we first have to take a hard look at the boundaries of the reality we all currently accept.
All right, Section 1, the conventional illusion, life, death, and separateness.
Before we can go around breaking the rules of reality, we need to validate the beliefs we already hold. Our conventional view of death is incredibly definitive, isn't it? We generally believe that life and death are two totally separate, contrasting things. We see ourselves as separate entities located in a specific time and place. When someone dies, we view it as a process ending. To use Simcha's terms, if reality is a game, we believe that a loved one has permanently checked out. They've left the game. Sure, we might speculate about where they went, maybe heaven, hell, or just nowhere at all. But the foundational assumption is always that they have departed.
And this perfectly illustrates the massive gap between what we typically perceive and what Simcha argues is actually happening behind the scenes. On the left, we've got our familiar conventional reality. It requires space, a timeline of past and future, and separate physical bodies. But on the right, we have what she calls the absolute reality. In this framework, there's only one eternal moment. There's absolute oneness. And because of that, she argues that both life and death, exactly as we conventionally define them, are complete and utter illusions.
Moving on to Section 2, the absolute reality, entering the all-nothingness.
So, Simcha uses a very specific term for this absolute reality, the all-nothingness. It's defined as one eternal, unmoving essence. And in this view, it is literally the only thing that truly exists. But here's the trick. It disguises itself. It puts on a mask as all the separate beings, forms, and phenomena that we interact with every single day. The universe isn't filled with billions of individual things. It's filled with one single essence playing billions of different roles.
Which leads us to a rather stark realization. There is no life as you know it. According to this philosophy, what we consider to be our individual, unique lives is actually the great illusion. The whole spectrum of emotions we feel, the bodies we walk around in, these are just a disguise worn by that single eternal oneness.
Section 3, the illusion of separation, a mother and daughter. Now, it's one thing to talk about this as some high-level abstract philosophy, but it's an entirely different thing to actually live it. Simcha experienced a profound shift in perception at age 45, but before that, she experienced the absolutely devastating grief of losing her beloved mother. What's so fascinating here is how her perspective on that profound loss completely transformed. She talks about this beautiful memory of driving in the car singing with her mom, but rather than viewing that as a past event that's just gone forever, she insists it's happening right now. It's the exact same moment as the present. She says there is no difference. The moment never actually changed, only its outward expression changed. So, why does that make sense within her framework? Well, think about the concept of the eternal moment. In this view, there was never a moment before this one, and there will never be a moment after it. There is literally only right now, and it's constantly shifting its appearance. If there's no actual past or future timeline, then nothing ever existed in the past to actually die. Therefore, true separation from the people we grieve is logically impossible. You are never separate from them to begin with, because you're made of the exact same continuous oneness.
All right, Section 4, death as a storytelling tool, the hero's evolution.
Now, I know this naturally brings up some heavy pushback. If we are all one eternal, undivided essence, why on earth must we experience the agonizing pain of grief? Simcha views this through the progression of a story. Think of reality like a grand movie or an epic novel. Step 1 is the setup. The all-nothingness disguises itself into separate beings to play out a narrative. But a story needs conflict to go anywhere, right? Enter Step 2, the turning point. The death of a loved one occurs within the narrative. And that propels us into Step 3, the transformation. The hero, which by the way is you, is forced to change, to evolve, and to express emotions that wouldn't even be possible otherwise.
In this model, death serves purely as an instrument. It's an extreme situation that literally forces the hero to transform. Without the illusion of death, the story could never express the true devastating depth of our sorrow. And more importantly, it could never express the highest, most profound peaks of our love. Simcha suggests we only realize the true magnitude of our love precisely because we experience the illusion of their physical absence.
Section 5. Losing the fear. We are the oneness.
Okay, we really need to address the elephant in the room here. Hearing that death is just an instrument for a story can initially sound incredibly cold, cruel, or even heartless to someone who is actively grieving. It brings up agonizing questions. Why is there no justice? Why did they leave me? It makes it feel like we're just victims of a distant, cruel God who's using our suffering to play a little narrative game for its own amusement.
But here is the massive twist in Simcha's philosophy. It is not some distant God making us suffer. She asserts, very clearly, we do this to ourselves. We are the nothingness. There is absolutely no separation between you and the creator of the story. At the absolute deepest level, we are the ones choosing to express ourselves through this incredible emotional depth.
Simcha argues that when a person finally grasps this, it completely reframes the entire philosophy. It goes from feeling like victimization into this deeply empowering reality. The takeaways here are pretty profound. We are not victims. We actually use death to express love. The departed haven't gone anywhere because there's simply no place to leave to. Because separateness isn't real, the person you lost was never a separate entity from you to begin with. They were always you. You are both the exact same eternal essence. And that brings us to a final, really beautiful reflection from Simcha Lev. When my shift happened, I lost the fear of death in a split second because I understood where I am. By viewing the physical timeline as just a disguise, she found immense comfort. It leaves us with a fascinating question to walk away with today. What if you completely rethought your own fear of mortality? What if the loved ones you've lost never actually left, simply because there was nowhere for them to go? Thank you for exploring this remarkable philosophy with me today on The Explainer. Keep asking the big questions.